Andrew Tate. All right. If you don't know who Andrew Tate is, let me just give you I'm going to be as kind as I can, the definition of this guy. He is a entrepreneur, rich person, Romania, I believe, took the internet by storm a couple years ago by calling out the feminist movement, bringing masculinity back. Dude never wears a shirt, smokes cigars, drives Lambos, all that kind of like the you know, what is it? Taylor Lopez was the guy that has like the you know, library behind his Ty Lopez. There you go. Ty Lopez. He's like the new Ty Lopez, right? So he got big actually in conservative circles because he was the antithesis of the woke left. The woke left was trying to transition our boys to be girls, and then he comes in to be like, no, be strong in your manhood, don't listen to the Matrix, blah, blah, blah. And so he blew up. Okay. Then it came out that he made most of his money through pretty much an eCam website for pornography. And that's where he and his brother Tristan made most of their fortune. And since then they have reinvested and you know, he started a masterclass kind of thing and made some good business decisions. But his past is not good. And in fact, there's videos of him saying awful, evil, heinous things about women. But this is the question. A couple podcasts, conservative podcasts, Andrew Tate's visiting the States, and they've had him on. And them having him on has caused this big debate in conservative circles. Some conservatives are saying, how dare you entertain someone who, and I forgot to mention this, they were like, Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan were under house arrest for a while because the Romanian government said they were sex traffickers. And so big accusations against them. To my knowledge, they beat that trial, and that's no longer a thing. But you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But, you know, when you have the accusation that you're a sex trafficker, there is proof that you owned an eCam girl business, and there's video proof of you just being a full degenerate towards women. That's not really like a figure that a lot of conservatives would want to hang around. And so, for example, Patrick Bet-David, PBD, he had Andrew Tate on the podcast. The Hodge Twins had Andrew Tate on the podcast. Sean Kelly, a friend of mine, had Andrew Tate on the podcast. And the pushback they got was massive. And this is the debate. One side, I'm going to go to the podcaster side. So the podcasters are saying we should have the freedom to have conversations of who we'd like. That's the point of free speech. That's the beautiful thing in America. We might not agree with everything they've done or said, but we should have the ability to not practice gotcha journalism and have to ask them about the questionable things in there. We should be able to have just a good conversation. But then the antithesis of that, so the conservatives are saying, well, no, if you're going to have someone that has a checkered past like Andrew Tate and has said awful things about women, if you don't call them out on those things and ask them to clarify or ask them what their stance is now, you're doing your audience a disservice. And actually what you are doing is platforming people to a greater platform. And if you don't call them out on those things they've said in the past or crimes they've committed or anything like that, you're pretty much giving your stamp of approval on their life. So those are the two sides of this debate. On one side, podcasters, you're like, we should be able to interview who we want and have whatever conversation we want with those people. On the flip side, some of the conservatives are saying, no. Andrew Tate's evil. He's a sex trafficker. He's this, he's that, he's this. If you're going to have him on your show, don't just give him softball questions. You need to grill him on those things. So those are the two sides. What do you think? Is there room in the middle? Is the side, and I have a bunch of friends over here, guys. I have a bunch of friends that are saying, like, mad at PBD, mad at the Hodge Twins, mad at some other things that had Tate on because they didn't ask questions. They're good friends of mine on Twitter. Like, I'm friends with them, and they're irate because of this. And then I have friends over here. I'm friends with Adam from the PUD podcast that has and had hung out with Andrew Tate and saying, like, we have the ability and should have the freedom to interview who we want. So what do you think? Who's right in this debate? Let me know in the comments. Here is my takeaway. Both are right. I know you guys are like, boo, give us a juicy answer. In my opinion, both are right. I was recently offered the opportunity to interview someone who's currently in jail. I'm not going to tell you who that is yet. And I was also interviewed someone else that has had a checkered past and some allegations and had the opportunity to interview them too. I'm not going to tell you who that is yet. So this is the question. Do I have the freedom to interview those people? Yes, I do. It's a free country. It's free speech. If it is someone that has had major allegations in their past and they come on my show and I don't bring it up at all, can it be spun? And especially if it's like a very positive, fun, enjoyable conversation and they're spun in a very positive light, could it be taken away that I'm a fan of that person and I am totally fine with the crimes they've committed in the past? Sure. People could think that watching this show, and that's their right to think that. Do I have an obligation to my listeners? Or guess what is my obligation to my listeners as a host? And in my mind, the obligation as a host is to ask the question my listeners are thinking and to ask the questions that I want to ask. So as long as I'm personally not afraid to ask the questions I want to ask and to stay true to my audience, I'm going to have anyone on the show. If there's someone that I'm not willing to ask the hard questions for whatever reason, then I'm not going to have them on. But in this situation, in the Tate situation, I think both parties are right. I think people like PPD, who I respect and I like, and I would love to have him on the show, is totally within his right to interview Andrew Tate. But they're totally, the people that are giving them the response that the negative feedback back have the equal right. And you're going to have to be ready as a podcast to take that, especially if you have someone like Tate on, and especially if you don't ask him questions about things he said in the past. What I don't want to become is a gotcha journalism. Like, conservatives should not turn into just this gotcha journalism like podcast where, you dig up every little thing that someone did in their past and you always try to get them and see what, oh, you said this here, you said this here. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. But if you are going to have someone on that is so notorious as Tate, and you don't ask him questions of things that he has very publicly said, you need to be ready for the negative feedback. Let me know what you guys think about this whole thing. Does the podcaster owe the audience the hard questions if they have someone controversial on, or is there freedom of speech and should we just kind of relax for a second? Let me know what you think in the comments of this debate. Thank you guys for watching this segment of Here's the Dill.